9 p.m. on the East Coast of America and live from the WACA studios, this is Good Night. We're starting tonight with music news. The music news of the past couple weeks has been centered around Kanye West and his newest promise to drop an album. Kanye back in August teased that he was working on a new gospel-inspired project titled Jesus is King in a Twitter post. This follows up on his weekly Sunday service performances in which he'd bring a gospel choir across the country and play his and other people's songs in hymnal style. However, when the September release date rolled around, there was no album. Instead, a film only in Detroit and New York that contained music from the Mystery Project. Fans have been desperately trying to make sense of the release schedule, but nothing is certain when you're dealing with a guy like Kanye West. For reference, he promised another album around this time last year, a compilation album 2 summers ago, and scrapped a follow-up to his 2016 record, The Life of Pablo, after promising its release. Of late, Kanye has almost scrapped as many records as he has dropped, but fans are still on the edge of their seat at the chance of a new album. One of these people is our producer, Connor. Here's a picture of him from last September, refreshing Twitter, waiting for the album. Poor guy. He'll never learn. At this rate, we'd be better off getting a new Outkast album than Kanye delivering on a release date. And speaking of religious-themed things, in ridiculous news, Brooklyn-based creative shoe company Mischief has decided to take a stand against ridiculous collaborations after seeing Adidas team up with Arizona Iced Tea, so they created the Jesus shoe. It's an outfitted Nike Air Max sneaker with a crucifix on the lacing and a Bible verse printed on the toes, and holy water straight from the River of Jordan injected into the soles. The shoe sold for $3,000 and only about 12 were made. They all sold out. Now, I'm not really a religious guy, but these kicks are pretty fly. However, the company says they have no plans to make any more, despite the virality of the shoes. The question, how practical the shoe is going to be for athletic competition, though. Sure, you have the blessing of the Lord, but with athletes from track and basketball trying to limit the total amount of weight on their bodies, I think a couple ounces of holy water is going to slow a runner down during a sprint. But hey, you never know. Miracles can happen. In other music news, if you've been living under a rock for the last couple of years, you might not be familiar with the now infamous child song, Baby Shark. But for the rest of us, this children's song has become a staple for the new age nursery rhymes, and the YouTube music video for it's been amassed over, wait a minute, this can't be right, 3.6 billion views? So you're telling me that if you give one view to one person, almost half the planet has seen this video? Well, I guess that explains why South Korean kids education, Pinkfong, has decided to take it on tour. Baby Shark Live is coming to a city near you, and along with the titular song, they're dressing up in shark outfits, using puppets, and singing some other classic Pinkfong nursery rhymes like the Monkey Banana Dance and the Wheels on the Bus. So if you're a parent of a younger child, expect this to be on your radar about as much as Baby Shark was in your head. Good luck and Godspeed. Now in sports news, the Celtics began the preseason last week, and everybody was wondering if they'd bounce back from last year's disappointing season. It seems like they have, with a perfect record and blowout wins in 2 of their 3 games so far. But the real story that nobody can resist is Tacko Fall. Fall is a player who was recently picked up over the summer and has become a fan favorite at TD Garden for his play, his athletic ability, and easily memeable name. Oh yeah, he's also 7'6". That's a big part of it. We've got a minute in the last couple games and wowed the crowd with some hilarious blocks and dunks. Dunks that he does not even need to leave the ground to perform. The rest of the rookie Celtics squad looked equally as impressive, but no offense could seem to have an answer for the big man, who was somewhere in the top 6 tallest NBA players in history. We made a graph to show you how tall Tacko is. Connor, can you get it up there? So here That Tacko is more than a foot taller than the tallest bird, the emu. In fact, he's closer to the height of a fully grown Asian elephant as he is to our 6'2" producer Connor. But in addition to being a crazy addition on the court, he's reportedly also a really great guy. He'll be playing in the G League for most of the season working on his fundamentals, but when he arrives back in the NBA, it'll be a treat to watch. Now some words about Todd Carter. Todd was a producer on our program here at Good Night. He recently took on a position in a new career. We're all going to miss him a lot. Connor probably more than anybody because Connor's devastated. But we wish Connor all the best luck in the world with his new position. But we certainly do miss his shiny bald head here on Good Night. That's going to do it for the news this week. Stay tuned for Lucy Burdge This Week in Music History and for some bits from our crew celebrating a monumental human achievement in marathon running. And don't go anywhere because when we have come back on trending on Twitter to discuss what last week's biggest hashtags were. So keep it locked right here on Good Night.
This is Lucy Burdge with Good Nights This Week in Music History. We begin in 1964 when the Beatles recorded 8 days a week at Abbey Road Studios in London. In 1973, Elvis Presley and Priscilla divorced after 6 years of marriage. In 1988, Pink Floyd's The Dark Side of the Moon finally left Billboard's Hot 200 album chart after a record-breaking 741 weeks. In 1989, Paula Abdul went to #1 on the US album chart with Forever Your Girl. In 1991, Michael Jackson gave away Elizabeth Taylor at her 7th wedding, which was held at Jackson's Neverland Ranch. In 1995, Alanis Morissette went to #1 on the US album chart with her 3rd album, Jagged Little Pill, which was the first full album I ever heard growing up. In 1995, Tupac was released from Clinton Correctional Prison on $1.4 million bail, which was posted by Suge Knight, obviously. In 2000, Busta Rhymes was sentenced to 5 years probation after pleading guilty to a gun possession charge. And in 2005, Boy George was arrested in New York after police found traces of drugs in his apartment. And finally, in 2014, Taylor Swift was named Billboard's Woman of the Year for 2014, making her the first artist to receive the award twice. This has been Lucy Burdge with Good Nights This Week in Music History. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Lucille Burdge for both.
So, on Saturday, a pretty amazing thing happened. For a long time, people have been trying to break 2 hours on a marathon. And finally, on Saturday in Vienna, Kenyan runner Eliud Kipchoge finally managed to do it. He did it in 1:59:40, 1 hour, 59 minutes, 40 seconds, which means that equates to a 4:33 mile pace. He ran a 4:33 mile for 26.2 miles. And to understand how fast that is, that's about 13-ish miles an hour. So that means that he had to run around this track 105 times, and each time he had to do it in about 1 minute and 8 seconds. That's about 13 miles an hour. And the YouTuber Mike Boyd did an amazing video on this where he details all of the statistics and the history of the world record and everything, and you should totally go check it out. And he does a visual representation where he runs on a treadmill at about 13 miles an hour. But I wanted to give kind of a different representation and try to run around this track in 1 minute and 8 seconds, and then basically you have to do that more than 100 times to do what Eliud Kipchoge just did on Saturday. I am not exactly in the proper clothes to do this right now. I'm in Converses, long pants, yada yada yada, but I do run from time to time, so let's give it a shot. So that was pretty much a minute and 8 seconds. That's what it said on my phone. I'll check it in the edit. But it's probably a minute and 8 seconds. I thought that I would have to hold back to get the pace right, but no, that's basically a full sprint for most people 105 times. So again, check out Mike Boyd's video. He did a great job. Let's all remember and celebrate his amazing accomplishment, and shout out to Eliud Kipchoge. Jesus Christ.